right, hello and welcome to the 10th night of Ravenloft Fright Nights. I am Locke, my pronouns are they, he, and I will be your wereraven today. And, I give a lot of cautionary tales about what to potentially avoid or look out for throughout Ravenloft. And we gotta talk about, with it being the Halloween season, which houses to avoid. But I'm not the only one to give you these warnings so that you can decide for yourself which house is worth going up to receive some candy. I have a special guest with me today. Would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, happily. Thanks, Locke. My name is Steve Morgan. My pronouns are he, him. I am the DM of the Mists. I have a YouTube channel that covers 50/50 Curse of Strahd and Ravenloft, based on my experiences running Curse of Strahd game that ran into a wider Ravenloft game.
Which is very fun, yeah.
Mm.
So got a fellow expert here to help me talk about these houses, these spooky houses. Do you want to go with one of yours first, or do you want me to start?
Happy with whatever.
Well, you're the guest, so I feel like you should go first.
Okay.
So, which one would you like to do?
uh, First of all, it's got to be done. It would be a shame to leave it out. It's got to be Death House in Barovia, also known
Oh,
as Durst
absolutely.
Manor. Um, I have never actually run Death House, despite running Curse of Strahd and doing all the videos. I've never done Death House, so I feel a bit sort of, I don't know. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to not mention it, but I also feel
Hmm.
like I don't know it super well, other than having read about it and seen and heard other people discuss it. Yeah, I mean, house in some people have it in Barovia, in the village of Barovia. Some people have it on the outskirts, but you go to this house. There's mist everywhere. You can't leave. You've got to knock on the door.
Hmm.
And I don't know if how you would be in that situation, and the two ghost children appearing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you know that the reputation is that it's called the Death House.
Yeah,
Like, it's a bold choice to decide to knock on that door to try to get some candy.
that's a very good point. You have to be very brave.
Hmm. Got a feeling that you'd probably be lured in, so to speak, and get stuck inside.
Yeah, I get a feeling the ghost children would be like, "Come inside, we've got candy," and then you're inside, and you're like, "Oops,
Hmm.
too late now."
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, yeah, definitely a house I wouldn't knock on the door of. I guess going to my first one, I'm gonna keep
Hmm,
us in Barovia.
cool.
I'm gonna say that you don't want to be knocking on the door of Khazan's Tower, also known in as Van Richten's Tower, because I know they kind of changed the name of what we should call it. The
Yeah,
tower that's on the island on Lake Baratok, west of Valaki. Wouldn't advise knocking on that door, because if it might be a little trapped. It might be a little trapped, and if you knock on it without solving that puzzle, it's got like a sheath of lightning that just like envelops it. And dare I say, I don't think getting struck by lightning is worth trying to get some candy.
agreed.
And the tower could potentially even fall down on you if you try enough times without solving it. And I'm not gonna reveal what the puzzle is, but even if you do figure that out and then solve it incorrectly, not only is there the lightning issue, but then it summons a dragon. The
Yeah.
canonical live dragon within Barovia then tries to kill you. So then also, I don't think having a blue dragon trying to smite you essentially for failing uh also isn't worth trying to get some candy from that tower. So maybe also not the best place to be trick-or-treating at within Barovia.
No, I agree. And then you might even have a wagon parked nearby, and you think, "Oh, I'll knock on the door of the wagon," and then go to open the
Mm-hmm.
door, and kaboom. So
Kaboom. Yeah,
there's a lot of
indeed.
stuff can go wrong in that general vicinity.
Yeah,
Cool. Should I do my next one?
absolutely.
Another sort of famous Ravenloft staple. I actually thought this was a fifth edition thing. I didn't realize until I say recently, it was probably a few months or even years ago, but I didn't realize straight away that this was from older Ravenloft. It's the House of Lament, which
Oh.
I think it's called. I haven't got this in my notes, but I think it's like House Lamens or something like that. It's the name of the house, but it's partially a castle that then got adapted to a manor house,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some spirits haunting it, and there you can use a spirit board to sort of speak to them and wake them up. I mean, assuming you're already in the house, I suppose if you're knocking on the door, asking for candy is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's got a few issues. There's one character I really like called Dolk Dranzorg who's got fantastic art, I think.
Hmm.
He looks like a spooky dude. You need to get him out of the walls first, but even if you do get him out of the walls and you knock on the door and say trick or treat and he turns up, you're going to be able to like, oh, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of not great entities that could open that door, depending.
Yeah. Yeah, there's at least I think there's three and
Hmm.
all other sorts of things. And then the house can wake up as well. So you could, you get your candy and then you want to try and leave and all loads of things start attacking you. It's not great.
Yeah. Yet another haunted place that would want to try to make you a part of the house rather than actually let you leave.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Mm.
That was new information to me. I didn't realize that the House of Lament existed in previous editions. I thought that that was also only a fifth edition thing, so that was
Yeah.
cool to
I hope I've
know.
got that
Yeah.
right. And then it turns out that I've just like got that completely wrong. And then you're like, oh, I didn't know that. And it turns out I've actually lied to you. No, genuinely,
Yeah.
I think I saw some old art. You know the art where it's like the face in the clouds above the tower?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think there's
yeah.
an old, like a second edition or maybe third edition version of that. So I'm pretty sure it's from Older Law.
Hmm.
I hope.
I guess we'll find out because I'm sure someone
Yeah.
might correct us.
Yeah. After we do this, I'm gonna like look it up and be like, no, if I got it wrong.
I can always put a little correction in post. Um,
Please do.
well, I have to ask before I move on to my next one, because
Mhm.
I both enjoy the Death House and the House of Lament, but I know
Mm.
you just said that you haven't run Death House. Have you
No.
done House of Lament, or is that another one that you haven't touched yet?
I have, but not as it's intended. So instead of doing it for like levels, I think it's like 1 to 3,
Hmm.
I added it almost like as a one shot within my ongoing Ravenloft campaign, and I put it in Mordant, and they just met the Weather May Foxgrove twins, and
Hmm.
they went there with them. And at the time, I only had 2 players, so but I think they were like level 11, maybe about level 11, so a much higher level. But there was only 2 of them, and then I let them have Laurie and Jennifer, and I think only Jennifer went around the house with them, so there's only like the 3 of them. So I upped the challenge of some of it, but didn't have to do it massively, and I limited long rests as well. So
Hmm.
rather than have like 3 long rests, they didn't have any. So it ended up being about right, I think. So sorry, that was a very long-winded way to say yes.
No, I was interested to hear because I feel like I really enjoy House of Lament, but it doesn't get as much love as the Death House does.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen that as well.
Yeah, so I always want to talk about it because I want to get more people interested in
Mm,
this other very interesting, intriguing haunted house story. Just because I've
yeah,
also run it and I thought it was very fun.
yeah.
And I want to get more people on board of like, yes, go in the creepy house. Do it, please.
I'm on board with that
Except
as well.
except for maybe not for the purpose of this video, since we are trying to
No,
help you trick
yes,
or treat safely
yeah.
throughout Ravenloft.
Don't go into the house.
Otherwise, well, then I guess that I should take us to my next one. So I'm also taking us to a different part of Ravenloft. We're going to go into Borca for my
Ooh,
next one.
cool.
We're going to talk about, and I could be pronouncing this wrong, Misericordia, which is the Baritzi estate.
That's right. I'm not sure how to pronounce it actually, and I've not run Borka, and I don't know it super well. So
Hmm.
excited to hear more.
I also have not fully touched Borca. I've done like little lore allusions when I was doing a domain hopping campaign, but I didn't actually get to go there. And the House of Lament, at least in 5th edition, has a lot of connections to Borca. So a lot of my like little lore hints was when I ran that one to connect it back to your last one. So it's the Baritzi estate, and Ivana Baritzi lives there, who is one of the 2 Dark Lords. So I feel like that's already warning up front.
Hmm.
Obviously, if you're a Borkin PC or if you're new to Borca, you might not realize, first chance that she's the Dark Lord. So that might not be a good warning. You might not know in character that's who she is. But she is part of like the upper crust, shall we say? Because there's a big class divide in Borca where like the aristocrats or the nobles are trying to take advantage and have power over the poor, and the poor kind of idolize them in a way to where like that's just warning in itself. That I think if you go try to knock on Misericordia's door, to get candy, you're probably going to be killed or otherwise manipulated into the service of the Britzy family because you're interrupting whatever high society parties going on inside that mansion. Ivana's also known for her poison, so even if you do get candy and sent on your way, I think it's probably poisonous and going to kill you once you eat it later, so not the best treat, definitely more of a trick. As well as she's created a lot of new plant life. So there's a bunch of different plant-like creatures that you can pull from like other like stat blocks from other places that you could say that she created or reflavor it just for her. They obey her whims, so you could also become part of the beautiful gardens on the estate because the plants take you to consume to feed like their roots and whatnot. So lots of risk. I feel like that's kind of all I have because I was trying to find more like actual details on the house, but my biggest complaint about fifth edition is we don't get a lot of lore to
Mm.
base off of. It leaves you to like create a lot of things on your own, which is fun and has a lot of freedom, but like
Mm.
it can be hard and daunting for newer DMs.
Yeah,
But there
agree
was
with that.
also nothing that I could find in previous edition really about it, other than like, oh yeah, this famous person also went there to meet Ivana or something like that. So I think it does allow for a lot of room, but I think if you wanted to go like almost dark academia, like forest horror with it. That would be the vibe of potentially, or botanical horror, I should say. That would
Yeah.
be the vibe of what you're risking going up to that mansion and trying to get some candy.
Yeah, I think you'd have a lot of fun with looking at all the different sort of plant stat blocks because there's ones that are like poisonous, there's ones that are like
Hmm.
do other stuff. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I like to do is if I'm like preparing a haunted house or a one shot is look at those. But sorry, I'm
Yeah.
going off topic again. We're talking about knocking on doors and candy, and
No, you're so good. I would also argue that the body taker plant that we get in Van Richten's Guide to
yes,
Ravenloft, that would be a good one to
yes,
put in her gardens because maybe it kills you, makes a podling copy of you, and then this doppelganger, essentially this plant doppelganger, is now like in her service that has your face. Well, there's nothing you can do about it.
I like it. That works well. Cool. And my last one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is my sort of odd wildcard choice, and it's not fifth edition. It's going back to older lore, and I only discovered it recently. I did a video recently talking about sort of non-Dark Lord NPCs. I call them minor and recurring NPCs, so they're not the main villains.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the whole thing of Dark Lords not being able to leave their domains, these ones can. These ones can hop domains because they're not Dark Lords. And I came across a vampire called Jack Be Quick, and he's not just a vampire; he's a vampire who's invisible, which all on its own is terrifying. And
Yeah.
then, so like, yeah, it's bad enough. Vampires are pretty scary and tough enough as they are, but an invisible one is even more ridiculous. And he's got his own. It's called Jack's House of Horrors, and it says it's in Cartacus, but you can kind of put it anywhere. And it might be that if he gets shooed out of Cartacus or it's scared away, he goes to a different domain and sets up a House of Horrors there.
Mm-hmm.
But I was reading it. It was in I think it's in one of the old resources called Children of the Night Vampires, and it's just I was reading this. I was like, oh my gosh, this place is ridiculous. You go in and you're invited into a dining room, and the floor. You fall through the floor, and then spiders fall down on you. Sorry for any arachnophobes watching. Content warning for spiders. Then you escape that room, and there's a room where the walls move and try and trap you.
Oh my
Then
god.
there's another room where you got to go through a tunnel and it rotates, and then blades come out, and then it just gets more and more silly like that. And then silly as in like terrifying, horrifying. And then in the
Mm-hmm.
last room, there's goblins with a Y, if you're familiar with like the Forlorn goblins, and ghasts as well, ghouls and ghasts, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And then Jack shows up and tries to like bite you as well. So yeah, it's I thought that'd probably be the scariest of the bunch, to be honest. You know, someone knocks on that door and gets invited in. Good luck for them to
Yeah.
get out.
Yeah, that's wild. That's the one that I hadn't heard of at all
Mm,
before. We
yeah,
started talking about doing this video together. So yeah, that one sounds absolutely terrifying.
yeah,
Also with Jack being like invisible, even if like he's the one who opened the door, then there just be no one standing there.
yeah. I think there's like a mime or a clown who works with Jack who invite. I think it's a mime, so they don't say anything. So if people ask questions, they don't respond. And I think that's
Ah.
who sort of points or guides them to the dining room. There is somebody at the door,
Interesting.
so it's not just like an empty door. But yeah, Jack could do it otherwise, just open the door and then like you think the door opens on its own, but it's just Jack. But yeah,
Yeah. Also find it
yeah,
very interesting that it's a in Carticus, you said, right?
yeah. In the old
That
lore.
is, I don't know what Carticus was exactly in the old lore, but at least in fifth edition, that's like one of my favorite domains. So just the idea
Mm,
of having like a really creepy house in that world that I could use. Do
mm.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be running Carticus soon, so for it's going to be interesting for a higher level party as well. Like my players are like level 16,
Mhm.
so I have to see how that goes, and I might throw in Jack's House of Horrors when I do.
Very exciting. Well, for our ending house, I guess I'm technically kind of doing two because of the way that I personally run it, but this one's not fully like a canonical place, I guess we should say. But I want to talk about the von Holtz estate in Barovia, taking us back to the OG.
Hmm.
So Vasily von Holtz in my campaigns has two estates. Has one in Vallaki, is one of the more respected nobles within town. Has like a squeaky clean reputation. Nothing suspicious, like because like Barovians tend to be very paranoid, so won't go out of their way too much to help people, but like is kinder than a lot of the others that you might run into. So he has an estate there, and then I always have him have like a hunting lodge that I call Crimson Bramble that's
Ooh,
out
that's
west.
awesome.
About midway between Kresk and Vallaki is where I usually say that it is. That he goes in summers at because he's just not always home at his estate within an actual like town, an actual settlement, right?
Hmm.
And major spoilers ahead for people who don't know what I'm about to say. But the reason you might not want to knock on that door is because Vasily von Holtz is a human guise for Strahd von Zarevich to use to manipulate people, get involved, play his little cat and mouse games with the party, try to find his lost love, so to speak, or otherwise continue his own agenda. So knocking on that door has the risk of potentially interacting with the Count himself without realizing it, being charmed by him, finding yourself brought inside and suddenly bitten, potentially turned into a spawn if he's looking for more servants or something like that. If you are children, since children are usually ones trick-or-treating, and kids are kids, and if anything's seen as like disrespectful, at the very least the parents might find themselves in trouble that are like walking with their kids around, whether that is like a becoming spawn like I alluded to, or like being brought to the castle to be part of like a larder sort of situation. And then I would argue, because of the way I do his like hunting lodge, with it being closer to where the druids are that worship him, those are probably the who you might like run into sort of thing. They might
Mm.
be the ones that are at the house, because anytime that they're not like interacting with him directly on Yester Hill, it might be there for my campaigns. So even if Strahd slash Vasily is not there himself, you might run into some fanatics, some fanboys, shall we say, that might think that your sacrifice might earn them more favor with the land. So risking a lot by knocking on that door, but also depending on how you're playing Vasily and where you're at with the cat and mouse game in Curse of Strahd, might not seem that bad. He might seem like the best door to knock at, because he might be trying to play that kind noble to gain some trust, to give you an ally to take away in the end, sort of thing. So might
Mm.
go completely horribly immediately, but also might seem completely harmless because you're unaware of his true identity.
Yeah, I do love the stories of Vasily that I sometimes read online. Like I used him very sparingly. My players met him very briefly, and I don't think it was until right at the end of the campaign they realized who he actually was. But you hear
Mm-hmm.
the stories where you'll have a group of players and they introduce him to Irina, and they're like, "Hey, Vasily and Irina are really hitting it off. Oh, good for them." And you're like, "Oh my gosh!
God, yeah.
If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't, and it's bad."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's I actually gave him a house in Valaki as well, but it never came up. They never went there. But I had this house. I suppose it was because I mentioned kind of bring this full circle because I never ran Death House. The
Mm-hmm.
idea was that they would go in the house and something would trigger, and then like all these monsters would appear, and then they'd have to try and escape the house, and it would do the stuff that Death House does. like you go through doorways and there's blades and things like that. So I might do a video about it one day where I just bring it up on Roll20 and be like, here are all the monsters I put in it, just for a
Yeah.
laugh. But yeah, I do like the idea of Vasily von Holtz Estate, and to have two of them as well is great.
I figured that was a good way to explain why he wouldn't always be in town since he
Exactly.
wouldn't
Yeah,
be,
brilliant.
right? Hmm.
Mm, exactly that.
Well, I think that's a good array of some houses that you don't want to knock on the door of. There's probably plenty more, so if you know stuff from old lore or in 5th edition that maybe we didn't go over, please let us know in the comments. But before we go, I do have to ask, out
Mhm.
of the ones we said today, Steve, is there one that you feel a bit more braver about going up to than the others? Which one would you go trick or treat at?
That's a good question. Probably the I can't remember the name of it, but it was one of the ones you covered, the one in Borca, the Barisi
Uh,
estate.
the miser God, if I I feel so bad. I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying this right.
Oh.
Misericordia.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
would just knock on that one, get some candy, and then just run. It feels like out of all the ones we talked about, probably. I mean, I don't think any of them are like safe, but I think it's probably the safest.
Yeah.
What about you?
Uh, uh, as badly as I want to say House of Lament, I think the only one that, if I had warning ahead of time of like the danger of what I was about to face, I think I would probably go with Khazan's tower because I would believe in
Mm,
myself to figure out the puzzle
yes.
and to survive. I would have the audacity to think that I could big brain my way through. So I think that would be the one that I would attempt to go to, just thinking that I could and would probably end up being wrong like many D&D players are
Yeah.
about puzzles. But now that we're at the end, I want to thank you for joining me for this.
No, thank you for
This was an
having me.
absolute delight. Yeah.
Mm.
Would you please remind everyone of who you are and where they can find you?
Yep, so Steve Morgan, DM of the Mists, DM of the Mists on YouTube. The only real social media I do these days is Blue Sky, probably DM of the Mists on there. Don't know the full
Mhm.
handle. But yeah, I'll see you on YouTube or Blue Sky.
Absolutely. And I'll link all of that below as well so you can easily find him.
Thank you.
All right, and that is the video for our 10th night of Ravenloft Fright Nights. If you've been enjoying this, we're almost at the end of the spooky season celebration. But if you haven't already, you should subscribe so you can see the end for the finale, as well as anything else that I do. And just thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.